Hey, everybody, it's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. Welcome back. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, joined with my co-hosts, Zach and Emmett. We're here today for our weekly episode to kind of touch base at the news of MSU athletics. Not a ton going on. It's starting to get into that off-season between the major sports, but there are some pretty important news updates that we thought we'd bring to you and kind of touch base on. So, Zach, Emmett, thanks for joining me. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you doing, Emmett?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, we're kind of in that slow season now. Usual lull between anything, and we don't have a spring game this year for football, so going to be a lot harder to come by news and have have some usual overreactions from the spring game or something of the like.
Well, did we really have any overreactions the last couple of years? Because it's been a full-on, just lovely practice that we all love to go to. That's super fun and super
Marsh had that
entertaining.
didn't Marsh have a huge touchdown last spring game, which kind of paved way?
Yeah, everybody cut off the video clip for 4 days, and then by then somebody was transferring, so it shifted.
Yeah.
I was one of the offensive linemen, anyway.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we could go back to a normal spring game, that would be great. Pro spring game or pro team event. Let's just get the fans with the team. I don't know, just meet the team, something like that, just to kind of get hype back in this team.
Down for a barbecue. Let's do a fan team barbecue. That sounds good.
Coach M looks like he would cook a mean.
Absolutely. So, well, instead of just our great spring game replacement ideas, we do actually have some breaking football news. We'll start off the show. As we were getting ready to go live, Justin Thin from 24/7 Sports and Spartan Tailgate dropped we'll call a thin bomb for us that I think he was just waiting to release until he knew we were going live, so we appreciate it, Justin. But major breaking news, MSU football is getting ready to host 2026 four-star offensive tackle Calvin Obat for an official visit this weekend. He is currently on a flight to East Lansing. According to 24/7 Sports, he's the nation's 140th ranked prospect overall, and he's a beast of an offensive tackle and really highly touted prospect. I know Coach Michalczuk has been very high on him, and well, I mean, who wouldn't be? He's a huge, huge guy and a big-time offensive lineman target. So I'm pumped to see that. What are you guys' thoughts on Calvin coming to town this weekend?
So one thing that I've always said, and I probably said it 1,000 times last football season, is where do you win games? You win them in the trenches. And you figure out the trenches, you get a guy like this, and you also have some of kind of the more top recruits at Michigan State in the last couple of years kind of starting to find their way up in the rotation, kind of starting to get to be stars, and then obviously the transfers that are coming in. You're really kind of starting to see this offensive line really starting to take shape, which I think is really exciting, especially because we've had an offensive line that, to put it lightly, the last couple of years have really struggled, that really haven't been able to protect, obviously, Aiden Childs last year, but also run the ball outside of a couple of games. I really want to know, where the offensive line from Iowa and Michigan really went. I would love to know where that offensive line from running the ball went. But, yeah,
Transfer portal.
Yeah, you win the games in the trenches, and he's a guy that you feel pretty good about the offensive line. I think this is an offensive line that's young, and I think this is an offensive line that is looking for a guy like this that can maybe step in a year or two and just hopefully continue to build what Coach Michalczuk is doing in East Lansing.
Yeah, and to build off that, this is something you see with Jonathan Smith. He finds a West Coast Big Sky Country kid, because Obat is from Idaho. You saw him reach into his Idaho bag of tricks, saying Rakeem Johnson 2 cycles ago now at this point. Geez, it's been a quick 2 cycles. Anyway.
Yeah.
You see him also finding, Obat also shot put. I believe he placed 3rd in state shot put for his division. So you find those multi-sport kids who have the athleticism and the talent, and just Idaho's starting to become more of a hotbed for recruiting, and Coach Smith already had been recruiting there. So it's great to see that, now this team can really take advantage with the new staff and everything, who they have their ties to Big Sky Country from recruiting at Oregon State. So this is a recruit you wouldn't see under the Tucker era, under the D'Antonio era. You probably don't see this guy coming on an official visit to Michigan State. So that's some of those dividends from having a new class and having a new staff with different players on the board. This is one of those guys who previous years of Michigan State would not stand a chance.
Yeah, and it's good to see MSU really get in front of this. Kelvin's official offer list is about 25 deep currently. MSU is his first official visit. I know he was looking to set more up this summer, and obviously there's a long way to go before signing day and all that stuff, but good to see him want to, A, commit to an official visit at MSU, but B, want to get one in so early. The staff has a real chance here to make a really good first impression and kind of stand out from the get-go with some of these other teams that are recruiting him. And I know being from Idaho, it's not your prototypical hotbed of recruiting like California or Texas or Florida would be, but Kelvin's got some offers on the offers list. He's been offered by Florida, he's been offered by Auburn, he's been offered by Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Washington, Wisconsin. So he's got multiple Tennessees on here, multiple SEC schools, multiple Big Ten schools. So it's not that he's not a wanted commodity and he's just got a handful of offers, or even in other cases of Jonathan Smith identifying a talent early on and getting offers out before they really start to pick up their national recognition, kind of like how Kate Kaufman was doing before we signed
Eddie
him.
Whiting too, yeah.
And Eddie Whiting, yeah. So it's good to see them, like I said, a real shot to get him on campus this weekend, show him what MSU is all about, and get a strong foothold in that relationship, because players do appreciate the ones that have been there from the get-go and have been crafting a relationship from the beginning. We're one of the first teams to recognize them, and MSU is one of those schools. Coach Mahalchek's been after him quite a bit, and Coach Smith too. I mean, he's posted pictures. They've came out to visit him at his school, and it could be a nice pickup if we're eventually able to land him, because he is somebody who could really help anchor that offensive line in the future. Currently, just to give you a size profile, 24/7 has him listed at 6'5", 265 pounds. Keep in mind, he's class of 2026, so he's still a junior this year. I mean, younger kid, but I mean, a lot of potential, a lot of athleticism. As Emmett said, multi-sport athlete with the track and field background, and he's also played both offensive and defensive line at his high school in Fruitland, Idaho. So congrats to Kelvin on the offer. Happy to see you coming to East Lansing this weekend. Hope you enjoy it. Hopefully the staff is able to get a good impression on him, and we'll see where that takes us. Like I said, a long way to go before signing day, but if you can get that first impression now, maybe get him back in the summer for another
the next one would be unofficial, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think you're only allowed one official per cycle.
Yeah, you can only have one per team. I know that it used to be only 5 total official visits, but I know they changed that, so you can have more now, but I don't think you could go back to the same school over and over again. So, but yeah, so that's awesome. Excited to have Calvin on campus, and kudos to Justin Thin for breaking that, and we appreciate the scoop there. So something to look forward to for sure. Moving on a little bit more football news. Emmett had confirmed this, and I'll let him kind of break it down, but there were 3 players that were on the list for Lions local pro day that happened last week. Emmett, you want to break that down a little bit more?
Yeah, so the local pro day for the Lions is basically another chance for players to get to work out, and you get to work with the position coaches and basically really show who you are. You get at least the linebackers had a classroom test that was confirmed via Locked On Lions podcast. So basically, it's one more chance to get a look at it without committing an official top 30 visit. And then 3 of the players that were able to do it were Luke Newman, the interior offensive lineman, 1-year transfer from Holy Cross. Newman has been receiving potentially as high as day 2 picks for his mock draft. Then Jordan Turner, who's viewed as more of a priority free agent. I don't know how he had if you turn on his tape against Ohio State, you will not find a player with better tape against the national champions than him. Then the other one was Maverick Hansen. So those 3 for sure. Not sure if there's any other Michigan State players. Those 3 are the only ones we've been able to confirm via Lions on SI, in addition to Locked On Lions confirmed that Turner was one of the players on that. So credit to those 2 organizations. I was the one who broke the Luke Newman news, but then Maverick was revealed via Lions on SI, and also Newman technically by me working for Lions on SI. And then also Locked On Lions confirmed that Turner was one.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Jordan Turner ends up. I know he's been slotted as kind of that draft day or that after draft free agent, but I could see a team definitely taking a flyer on him on maybe late 6th, late 7th, just because that Ohio State tape was worthy of a late round pick in my opinion. Anyways, why not take a flyer shot at a linebacker who played that well against the best team in the country this past year, and then can play some special teams, could do a lot for you. So
for sure,
I could see that. So hopefully Brad Holmes and company were impressed. Maybe get some local Spartan guys on the roster. I know Maverick Hansen could help. We, as a Lions fan, I say we have a desperate need for defensive tackles and interior defensive line. So
not sure about that. I'll be honest here, not sure about that. Just with the signings of Lopez from the Cardinals, in addition to already having DJ Reader.
Yeah,
run stuff defensive tackles. That said, Maverick, great culture, great character guy. Would love. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see him on the Lions. Don't see if that would be in the cards with how the current Lions roster breaks down.
Yeah, no, same. I know he would have to kind of earn it. You're picking him up more if you're the Lions on other than just run stopping. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, like I said, we need bodies. I know depth is the main issue with Brad Holmes this year because, well, if you were a Lions fan and watched last season, I'm pretty sure either the three of us could have showed up at Allen Park at different times and got reps at defensive back or interior offensive or defensive lineman. So
especially defensive ends too. We need all the help we can get for defensive ends, but he could be like a possible, practice squad player, or he could be like a futures contract as well. That could be something that NFL teams like to do with guys like Maverick.
You see him practice. You might see him practice squad and then to a futures contract following the end of the season.
Yeah, he's definitely the character that any NFL team would want. So I'm sure someone will hopefully take a flyer on him. Oop, there goes my camera. Take a flyer on him and maybe try something out like that. So congrats to those three. Hopefully they get some traction. I'm sure they're visiting with other teams and that sort of thing. So hopefully somebody in the league wants to take a shot on either of those three. Jonathan Kim too, I know. Mm-hmm. Lions don't necessarily have that need at kicker like other teams do. So we'll see. But NFL draft is coming up in a few weeks, and that's always exciting times if you're a football fan too. So anything football related that we missed?
Not that I can recall. Most of the Belleville and E-Course teams are out to visit the team at practice today. For the press conference, on Tuesday it was Coach Mahalchuk and Coach Leggy, and I would say the biggest bit to take from it is that defensive tackles this year are, despite losing 2 starting defensive tackles this season with Hansen and Dowse, Coach Leggy confirmed, I feel comfortable with eight different players starting off, 5-6 players starting right now. So that's definitely a good sign when you are replacing a ton of front 7 members, that you already have your defensive tackles and defensive ends. Yeah. Also, Jalen Thompson was available for interviews. He said that he's up 15 pounds and moves just as quick, and he has looked at the main thing that prevented him from having many sacks last season, which was bad angles. And he said, going over it on film and everything, he feels like he is a lot better of a player. One last thing for press conferences too, Stanton Ramil was available. He said that his play last year was, quote, mediocre at best, but now his confidence is at an all-time high, and he definitely feels like he is a lot more prepared and ready to play. Mm-hmm. Final news, I promise. Coach Mahalchuk also confirmed that Cole Dellinger, the ESPN 4-star center from a couple classes back, he has made it out of practice 3, and he is fully good to go so far through spring camp. He has not, from what Mahalchuk said and previous coaching regimes have said, he usually ended up getting a bad injury within the first couple spring practices. So hopefully he gets to remain healthy this year and finally have that chance to show why he was viewed as a 4-star coming out of high school. Knocking on wood right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's hopeful because I know the previous regime was real high on him and had actually stopped taking a lot of visits from other interior offensive lineman prospects because they had felt comfortable with where they were at with Dellinger and his recruiting.
Yeah, him and Ramil were viewed as 2 of the big gems of their class, and we saw Ramil be arguably the best tackle on roster last season.
Yeah. And this will be a big season for the offensive line because a lot of those younger 4-star talented types of players like the Ramils, AJ Dennis,
Connor Moore, bringing the
Connor
transfer.
Moore, Rustin Young. They're getting up into the developments where it's time that they're going to get some serious playing time. So hopefully they're ready and can show what they've got, because I think they're all very talented and could be a big part of the team. So let's switch gears to basketball. I know we've touched a lot on the end of the season and everything with MSU, but we did get some portal news for the good.
Wait, they were actually using the portal this year? Twitter told me they weren't.
Portal news for the good.
I was just gonna say we weren't on any lists that were really announced.
Oh, if we were on a list, that's it. Anyway.
Yeah, much to Twitter and social media's dismay, apparently the world was ending because Tom hasn't been recruiting anybody, or we haven't made any lists for anybody. But as Tom Izzo normally does, I think the old saying is, real G's work in silence like lasagna. Tom Izzo in the background doing his magic. He picked up transfer commit from 24/7 has him ranked as a 4-star transfer product. Kaleb Glenn, the 6'7", 210-pound 3 small forward from from Florida Atlantic. Sorry, he is extremely athletic, extremely talented. Shot, I believe, 41% from 3 last year.
Yep.
So can hit some outside shots. He wasn't a huge volume shooter, but he made enough and put up enough to where you can definitely see that he can make the long range shot, which MSU basketball fans will be longing to hear after this past season. Unfortunately, I don't, as of right now, we don't have a ton of 3-point shooters still left on the roster, but he will do a good job of replacing some of the lost production from beyond the arc. So I don't know if he's going to be a starter. I think the way the lineup is shaking out, he's probably more of a bench, kind of like the Frankie Fiddler role down the stretch, maybe a little bit more than that, depending on how his play dictates, but I could see him coming off the bench and playing the 3, or when we want to do small ball lineups, you can have Jeremy, whatever shooting guard comes in, and then him along with Cohen and Jackson for a small ball style lineup. Interesting get. I think it does solve a pretty big need. What are your guys' thoughts on Kaleb's commitment?
Yeah, so I definitely think he's kind of that 3-4 type player, extremely athletic. Like you're saying, Chris, he can shoot from the outside, average about 3 or 4 threes a game. So obviously, like, not a ton, but not a small amount either, which is obviously good. His free throw shooting is probably his biggest downfall, I would say, at this. Yeah. He's shot like 62% around there last year, which is kind of unusual to say the least, because I feel like most people think, well, a really good 3-point shooter, percentage-wise, would be a good free throw shooter. Not necessarily the case for him. He does get to the line quite a bit often. He's a guy that likes to get downhill. He is a guy that likes to run, likes to get out on the break. If you really think about MSU, obviously, what are the 3 things Michigan State loves to do? Defend, rebound, run. And I think he's the type of player that really fits into that mantra. And having a guy like Glenn, having a guy like Cohen Carr, especially if they play the 3 and 4, like there's probably not very many teams in the country that is going to want to see those 2 guys specifically running down the court at a fast break. Like you can throw it up to one of them, or you can throw it up to the other. Now, one of them in Cohen Carr is probably going to jump a little bit higher than the other one, but Glenn's going to be someone that's going to be able to get to the basket. I think he had like 32 dunks last year. I don't know exactly how many Cohen Carr had, probably more, but if you want to do a record count for Michigan State most dunks in a year, I'm sure next year might be kind of in jeopardy of that for just having those 2 guys. Overall, it's a good ad. I think this is a type of ad that raises the floor of this team and really has potential to raise the ceiling as well. You saw what he could do at FAU, especially against top 100 teams in the country. He's performed pretty well. Now, against Michigan State, he didn't perform great. I think he was like 2 for 9 from the field,
2 for
something
9 and
like
4
that.
fouls, yeah.
Yeah, 4 fouls. So obviously not necessarily great there, but you look at what MSU did really well last year, and that was defending. And I want
getting players in foul trouble.
Yeah, and getting players in foul trouble as well, aka Jeremy Fears.
And Fiddler.
And Fiddler too. Yeah. But like outside of that, this is a good ad. Like, if you look at the portal, overall, this is a really good start to the portal. Now, obviously, we need to do more, and in my opinion, this can't be your main guy getting out of the portal. I think if that is the case, I obviously think that's disappointing. But if he is one of the guys that you get, and he's like your 2 or 3 guy from the portal, I think you have to be pretty thrilled about that. MSU obviously needs to get 2 guards, though, at least, and one of them's going to have to be that shooting guard. Good ad by Izzo, good ad by the coaching staff. He's going to be able to contribute and play key minutes for Michigan State next year, even if it's coming off the bench.
If you want a good comparison for what MSU gets with Kaleb Glenn, looking at just statistics, obviously they played in different conferences in the first 2 years, but in terms of a Spartan to compare to, the guy to compare him to would be Gabe Brown. Gabe Brown also started 16 total games between his first 2 seasons. The difference really being free throw shooting, but their 3-point shooting, nearly identical numbers. Glenn got a bit more action than Brown did in his first 2 seasons in terms of points, in terms of volume. Both players have different methods in terms of Gabe Brown only shot about 41% from 2, 41 to 50% from 2. Compared to Glenn shooting in that 59 percentile because he attacks the rim more. Also drew more fouls. But Brown and Glenn is a pretty good comparison in terms of you have a guy who can come off the bench, shoot a ton of threes, hopefully, and then just hopefully be that high energy guy, either as a starter, as a rotation player, but provide that spark, whether it's flying in from the second row like Cohen Carr, or if it's shooting a 3. To see I would say Cohen Carr, another comparison could be a Cohen Carr, especially like when you look at free throw shooting, but then with more of a 3-point shot and less of, I would say, I would almost say the defensive elements.
Yeah. I think Glenn, in a perfect world, is kind of a Gabe Brown, Cohen Carr hybrid, and I know that's a lofty comparison. Like,
a
ideally,
walking highlight reel.
Yeah, if you took the best parts of both players and put them together, Glenn could be that at like his absolute ceiling. But the free throw shooting, I don't think it's going to get. I mean, hopefully it gets better, but that's obviously going to be the weak point. But he attacks the basket really well, more of a Cohen style there. But as Emmett said, the threes and the perimeter shooting, it does. The size too, kind of to me, really mimics Gabe Brown and how
Yep.
how
I was
he
about to say
plays.
size is almost identical for the two.
And 2 years of eligibility too.
Yep, he's not just going to be a one and done ad.
Depending on the NCAA, it could be 3 years of eligibility too, because there are very heavy rumors that the NCAA is just looking at a blanket. Everyone gets 5 years. End of discussion. Doesn't matter about medical, red shirt, etc.
Yep. So yeah. So we
more
can see
25-year-old players.
Yeah, I know exactly, but
Auburn's gonna love this anyway.
Yeah, hopefully they come up with some more portal additions. I know I don't think they're anywhere close to being done, but in my opinion, we need a starting shooting guard, a backup point guard. Could those be the same player? Potentially, but then you're going to need another guard off the bench probably. So
probably 2 guards, I would say.
Yeah, so I mean, if you do get somebody like a Trey Holloman who played a lot of minutes at the 2 as a starting, but then when Fears needs a breather, he can come in and run the point. That'd be ideal in my opinion. Then you fill in maybe another bench guard somewhere, but who knows? Who knows exactly? I know multiple MSU, I guess, insiders or people close to the program know there's been communication. There's multiple players involved that they've been looking at. Just because it's not publicized does not mean that's not happening.
If they make the list, if they get a public list for MSU on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I will say this. Unless they're on an official visit to Michigan State and that gets posted, I would say if they're on a Michigan State, MSU is going to be used as a bargaining chip, and it's going to be a matter of NIL funds. And Izzo's not going to be here to get a bag chaser. He is going to get a guy who wants to play Spartan basketball.
Yep.
That's my general philosophy on it. So if I see a player publicly announcing MSU, unless I see him on an official visit within a day or two, I basically say, okay, so this guy's just using MSU as a bargaining chip. I would love to be proven wrong. If a top shooting guard in the portal hears this podcast and says, I want to prove this guy wrong, go for it. I will gladly eat my words.
Yep. Any top shooting guard that wants to come to Michigan State, just come on in.
Yeah,
I will be more than happy.
Put MSU on your list and commit the next day. I will gladly accept being wrong.
And then tag Emmett in the comments, and we can all make fun of him.
Tag me.
Yep.
I'll eat
exactly.
a whole ball. I'll eat a whole ball of wasabi if that happens.
I like it.
Oh, wasabi-filled basketball. You got to eat the basketball itself too.
The basketball too. Oh, geez, what have I done?
You'll be fine.
But they have to do it in the order of tagging Michigan State as one of the top schools, and then committing within like a day or two.
Absolutely.
We're gonna be putting limits on here. I don't want to eat wasabi.
You know how funny this would be if this actually does happen? Like that would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, it would be funny for you two.
Yeah.
It would be fun.
So, but that's all the basketball.
I can see the episode title now, the wasabi episode.
The wasabi episode, perfect. That is all the basketball news we have. Of course, any more updates of visits or potential targets or commitments, we'll let you know when we hear them. But generally speaking, Tom Izzo moves very behind the scenes. He reminds me a lot of how Steve Eichmann does with the Red Wings, because if something gets out, it's not from the staff, it's not from the MSU camp at all. It might be a player leaking it, and if that's the case, like Emmett said, he's probably not using MSU as the best interests of that. We'll see.
We'll have to be proven wrong again.
Yep,
but there's a reason we've all thought this and kind of think of it. Tom doesn't like all this being out there.
And I mean, to be fair, at this time last year, who would have known who Shimon Zapawa was? If you're raising your hand, put it down.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be a very valuable depth piece for the Spartans this year. I know he was a starter, but also as a depth piece was very good. We wouldn't be in Ohio State in January without it.
And to wrap up basketball news, we will have one more scholarship to have for MSU. For those who didn't hear the much anticipated news that unfortunately happened, Jase Richardson did declare for the NBA draft. Does not look like he will be returning. He sent out his thank yous to MSU and East Lansing and the program and everything. As expected, he's probably going to be a lottery pick. He's probably off to have a long, good pro career. So congratulations to Jase. I know that was a nice little pipe dream to maybe come back for one more year, but well-deserved, absolutely needed. And thank you for this season. You guys want to hit on anything with Jase before we transfer over to hockey?
Yeah, more just like thank you. Thank you for kind of the memories. Thank you for the comeback against Oregon.
The Oregon game.
That was kind of the game that I don't want to say kind of clinched it, but there's a few moments in that game you're like, there's no chance he comes back.
Which is crazy to say a player's first career start is the moment when you realize they weren't coming back to MSU.
Yeah,
in terms of going professional, but
yeah.
That's completely the case. I think everyone can point to one or two different shots at the Oregon game and say, at this moment, Jase Richardson was NBA bound.
Yeah,
and you can pick that with 3 or 4 of his shots made.
Yeah, which we all I'm sure we're all hoping for a quote-unquote Miles Bridges moment where no one was expecting huge announcement by Sparty. But obviously, we don't get that.
We can't blame
rightfully
him.
So.
Yeah.
Like, he needs to do what's best for him. Like, I'm pretty sure all of us would have loved to have him back in East Lansing. I'm sure NIL-wise he would have.
What else can he do? You know?
Yeah. There's really nothing else that he can really do. The one, like,
Final
quote-unquote, the Final Four and the one quote-unquote, I would say, thing that people can kind of, like, pick at is he's smaller, at least 6.
But he's not going to grow an inch in a year or something.
Yeah, but he's not going to get any taller. So just go become a lottery pick, get millions of dollars, do what's best for you, and just come back to East Lansing, and you and your dad will be beloved forever. Because
for all we know, Tom Izzo was the one who said, "No, go be great," because he did that with Jaren Jackson when Jaren Jackson tried to come back for a second season.
Yeah.
So for all we know, Tom Izzo said, "No, you're going to the NBA."
Yeah, he even said that he's like, I'm going to tell Jeremy to
test the waters,
Test the waters. Like, that's basically him saying, like, come on.
You don't see Izzo address that often, so, that's kind of the sign that, that kid's going to the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, what's sad and what we lose in Jase, we do make up a little bit for in hockey with Trey and some of the other breaking news that we're going to get to here in a second. So we'll transition over to hockey now. There is some hockey news that has been, I guess, released recently. If you've kind of followed along on my random Twitter rants for the past weeks or so, you would have seen little hints of this. I know Jeremy Duar, our beloved hockey guest, has kind of posted some stuff about this throughout the time. In a shocking twist of events, Isaac Howard, our do-it-all forward extraordinaire for MSU, the Hobey Baker finalist, hopefully soon to be Hobey Baker Award winner, announced that he is coming back to, well, he didn't announce it, but it was confirmed that he is coming back to MSU for his senior season next year. Jer and I had stated in the hockey episode, in Dreamland scenario, there was probably like a 0.02% chance that we thought Trey and Isaac would be back. Well, hey,
Good Tigers reference.
we're here. If the Tigers can make the playoffs with that chance, MSU can get them both back, and we're living in fantasy land again, because both Trey Augustine and Isaac Howard will be back next year.
And Strom will decline a contract.
Yep, and Adam Nightingale confirmed this himself and was talked about. I think he was speaking with Graham Couch when he was mentioning it. But
and got one of the best defensemen in the transfer portal too.
Oh yeah, yep. And so
We're so
he was
back,
speaking.
baby.
I know.
He was speaking with Graham about how last year it was really big that he thought 4 players turned down pro contracts last year to come back this past season. And he mentioned again the culture at MSU winning out the 3 probably easily surefire pros that could have been playing at the bare minimum in the AHL next year, if not the NHL, are coming back to East Lansing in Trey, Isaac, and Charlie Stramel. So MSU is returning its top line of Stramel, Howard, and Daniel Russell. It's got super talented freshman Shane Visagi, potential huge recruiting class. USHL standout Riker Lee is coming in next fall. And then, the elephant in the room, the number 4 overall pick from last year's NHL draft, Caden Lindstrom, is, according to multiple sources, planning on leaving the Canadian Hockey Leagues and joining MSU in the fall as a freshman there before probably turning pro and playing for Columbus or their AHL affiliate in the not-so-distant future. So Caden is coming off a back injury. He had to have surgery, so there is a little bit of an injury concern, but he should be good to go by the fall and is uber talented. You worried about losing a couple of defensemen. We did lose David Gucciardi, Nicklas Andrews, who did sign. That was the other piece of information I wanted to say. Nicklas Andrews did sign a pro contract with the Grand Rapids Griffins, so he is now in the Red Wings organization. The Wings did not sign him directly. The Griffins did, and then sent him down to ECHL Toledo for the rest of the season. So he will be playing with the Walleye to end this year, and then have a shot to make the Griffins next year. Maybe get called up to them for the Griffins playoff run if they have one. So, but he's in the system. Should the Red Wings feel the need to call him up, they can purchase his contract and do that. Sign him to his NHL deal. Congrats to Nicklas. But you lost some defensemen off this year's class. You do get your number 1 defense pairing back in Strabak and Gary. As Zach mentioned, and Zach had a great article for the website Spartan Shadows about Colin Ralph, a defenseman from St. Cloud State, the 2nd-round pick of the St. Louis Blues. Behemoth of an individual, a 6'5", I believe, 215, 220 pounds, big kid.
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah, he is a juggernaut, and he will help the defensive core and play a big role in the defensive end, plus a couple of other returning solid players too. So this team is going to be firing on all cylinders. And if you are a hockey fan, try to get tickets for any game at MUN next season as soon as you can, because it's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah.
Exactly. You also forgot about Pascal. Get the alternate captain shout out right there. Defensive. Yes. Pascal is coming
back.
Yeah, but this is going to I'm going to try to be funny here. This will probably completely fail. But you know how they say, like some coaches are, cooking up something? For Nightingale, he's not cooking. He's making pizza. And it's for...
Hey, he's making pizza.
He's making pizza, and he's bringing people in with that pizza. There has to be something.
Not sending him to Little Caesars Arena.
Exactly. He's making his own pizza. People want to stay. That's the reason why these guys are saying that Michigan State is probably because of the pizza. But
Speaking of someone who did not stay, but we can't blame him, Luca has officially committed to Minnesota. I don't know if we covered that last podcast.
Yeah, which best of luck to him.
Best of luck to him. We only wish he loses 4 games a year.
Yeah.
Only
Emmett's
4
favorite
games.
player.
He can win out the rest. Maybe drop 1 or 2 just to help us with Big Ten standings and sleeping at night. But
Wait, can we include possible matchup in the NCAA tournament? Can we
Possible.
include 5?
yeah,
Yeah.
we can make exceptions for 5 or 6 depending on it. Maybe 6,
Well,
7
I'm
ones.
sure
Sorry, basketball
Minnesota in
reference.
either the Big Ten tournament or the NCAA tournament, I would think, should we have the success we expect to have. But I didn't really touch on why Isaac Howard, for those who weren't following the news, it was all but pretty much guaranteed that he was going to sign his entry-level contract with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has, if you follow the NHL, some salary cap concerns, to say the least. Those who do follow hockey know that Tampa Bay is one of the premier teams in the league the past 10 years. They've won multiple Stanley Cups. They're kind of that prototype of how to build a winning product year after year after year. That window is starting to close. Their big superstars have aged out. Some have left, like Steven Stamkos, and went to other teams. You have had to make some cap sacrifices, and after so long of not drafting in the top half of the first round, plus, trading and gating assets for cup runs, it's finally starting to catch up to them. So they're in a tight cap window. There was rumored, we'll say, discontent between both sides on guarantees of what the entry-level contract would say. Could Isaac Howard have a path to the NHL quicker than, maybe an average player? Because he certainly deserves it the way he's played the last few years. Some other stuff that was, rumored, and nothing so far has really been confirmed. This all kind of came to a head in NHL insider guru Elliot Friedman talked on his 32 Thoughts podcast the other day, saying that the feeling is that the discontent has been past the breaking point, and that Tampa may look to try to trade his rights. Because the reason that it's getting to this point is Tampa needs to sign Isaac Howard. They own his draft rights until August 15th of next year, 2026. If he were to come back to East Lansing, that pretty much all but guarantees them not being able to get him signed. If he doesn't want to take the face and sign with them now, that's pretty much writing on the wall that he doesn't maybe necessarily agree with the path they have or want to necessarily stay in the organization. In which case, if you're Tampa Bay, you don't want to lose out on your first round pick from 2022. You don't want to lose that talent that you've invested with that high of draft capital. So the more likely scenario now is that Isaac's going to come back. He's going to play in East Lansing. And then after August 15th of next season, he can sign with any team he wants. He'll be an unrestricted free agent.
So he'll go to the Red Wings.
It's possible. I mean, as a Red Wings fan, I need all the goals that we can get, so I will take a flyer. Why not? But it'll be interesting to see.
That's your word. Sorry.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if Ike gets his rights still. I mean, Tampa Bay is obviously going to try to recoup something. They don't want to lose him for nothing. So will they be able to trade him to a team that maybe could guarantee him some NHL time or at least a prominent stint in the AHL right away? And that may, be of Isaac's wanting, and then that could, take place. And so there is a way that Isaac still maybe doesn't come back to East Lansing next year, but the plan is, as of right now, that he is going to be back. It's all but confirmed. Even if they trade him, Ike does have a little bit of a negotiation power on that ELC, and he can just say, I don't want to sign, I want to be a free agent, come back to East Lansing, maybe win a shot at a national championship, and then pick whatever team you want to go to. So that being said, too, it is worth noting Mike Grinelli of Barstool Sports and Spit and Chicklets. He did a great piece on MSU back in the fall with Isaac and Red Savage about MSU's facilities. He circled back when all this news broke, I believe yesterday, and mentioned that MSU is, if not the number one place, it is top 2 or 3 in the country in NIL and hockey. If we want a player to come back or want a player to come here, the NIL money for hockey is there. The facilities are top-notch. Jared mentioned it. Will Morlock, our strength and conditioning coach, was the head strength coach at the U.S. National Development Program. He's the reason that players like Red Savage and Isaac Howard came here to begin with. They love him. The players love him. A lot of recruits love him. They know they get that top-tier conditioning facilities, everything they can possibly ask for here at MSU. So that's a big factor. I was joking around a little bit with the Trey talk earlier in the year about how Trey, may have a better scenario here in East Lansing than going to the AHL. It was a joke and a half because obviously everybody wants to be a professional, but it's true in the fact that MSU's facilities and NIL rival what most AHL teams and what players would get going to the AHL. You can probably make just as much money if you're a top prospect in the NIL game here and the facilities here are second to none in the NHL or in the NCAA. Not a bad fallback plan if you're Isaac Howard. You can come back, make a little money in NIL, and go from there. Really get one shot at a national championship, and then pick your team to sign with next year and start your pro career. So, welcome back to Ike. Happy to have you back. Obviously, still pulling for a Hobie Baker trophy here in the next couple weeks. This weekend, I think. So, yeah, that's my long spiel about Ike coming back. We're excited to have him, and MSU hockey is a potential wagon and a half for next year. So that's all we have for hockey. It pretty much wraps it up for the podcast. One little bit of baseball news. I know the team's been struggling a little bit. Zach, it sounds like we have some home games coming up that might potentially get the fans some nice baseball action.
Yeah, so we're going to have, I believe, 9 consecutive home games. So it's going to be a while. Home stand, basically, until we have to go at Michigan, which I'm sure that will be a fun matchup in Ann Arbor. But, yeah, have a couple home games coming up. They have Northwestern this weekend, have Western Michigan and then have a couple other games coming up as well. They play Oregon starting in May, so Oregon's coming to East Lansing. So if you want to see Michigan State play a top 10, top 15 team in the country in Oregon, they're coming to East Lansing as well. That's the game after Michigan and Michigan State plays in Ann Arbor. So a couple possibilities there. Obviously, we all know the weather isn't great right now, so maybe give it another month and then go watch some baseball and have hopefully a chance to make the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, they've been struggling a little bit. I think things just are going to get harder going forward, so really hope that they kind of turn around on a 4-game losing streak right now. Winning tomorrow when you have Tariq Skubal on the mound and Joseph Jurwa, that would really help.
I was going to say it's Jurwa Day.
It is Jurwa Day. Every Friday is Jurwa Day. If you're going to ever go to a Michigan State baseball game, go on Friday night because you're going to see a pitcher that's probably going to be going in the first 3 rounds of the MLB draft in the near future.
Yep. So, all right. Well, that's all we had. Wanted to keep you guys up to date on the happenings. I know it's nothing super, super major, just some rumblings we've heard around. But great news nonetheless. We do plan on getting some fun episodes, themed episodes for you. Obviously, we're going to be wrapping up spring ball football-wise, and we're going to have some football-themed stuff coming for you.
I'm sure we'll have portal news too, also, because I'm sure there's going to be portal action, breaking news. It's college football. There will be portal action.
Yeah, we will have players leaving. We'll probably have a couple coming in potentially. So we'll keep you up to date there with as much as we can. And then also some other recruiting stuff for the 2026 cycle, because after spring ball, we get a little bit of a dead period. But when summer kicks off, it's full gear recruiting season. That's when most students want to take their official visits and try to get decisions made before their senior football season. So a lot of
any media for the opening practices of the year, I will be obviously in communication about that. Hopefully, can get some news out for there.
Yep, a lot of kids like to get all the stuff wrapped up in the summer and then enjoy their senior year, not having to worry about visits and commitments and all this stuff. So obviously, things can change with on-field performance and NIL and things like that, but you never know. You'll see a lot of players want to wrap it up, and MSU's got some pretty targeted players that they want to be getting in and hopefully getting some commitments from. And of course, basketball is about over, but any portal news there, we'll let you know. Hockey, it seems like the roster is slowly getting closer to finalized. We'll keep you posted there. Hopefully, we'll get some good news on Caden Lindstrom soon. But other than that, that's about all we have tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate everybody. Give us a follow on our socials, the podcast socials. They're all always linked. Any ideas for episodes you want to have, shoot us an email, message us on any of the socials, leave it in the comments of the YouTube video or wherever you get the episode, and we will do our best to try to incorporate some stuff for you in the show. Hopefully mailbag and a couple other guest episodes that you guys might enjoy coming up soon. So that's all we got. So everybody have a good night, a good weekend, and as always, go green.
All right.